This is Wayne from My Tech News, and in this video, I'm going to be reviewing Mega Man 11. Mega Man 11 just came out, and it's been 8 years since we've had a true Mega Man game since Mega Man 10. How do I feel about this game? Is this game worth your money? Should you buy it? Well, let's talk about it in this video. Now, Mega Man 11 is a multi-platform release, so you can get this on all consoles, including PC, and it's only going for $30, so it's not a traditional release that comes out at $60, and Capcom realized this game doesn't have a lot of content. You pretty much got your standard Mega Man affair, and this game's about 4 to 6 hours, depending on your difficulty, and depending on what you do in the game and stuff like that. There are other things you can do outside of the main story, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but overall, right now, I'm just going to jump to the case right now and say that I like this game. Is this my favorite Mega Man game so far? It's hard for me to tell if this is really my first my favorite Mega Man game, excuse me, but overall I'm liking my experiences with this game. I think this game plays very well. I actually like the art style of this game. I know some people out there don't like this game just because of the art style of the game, and sure, a lot of purists out there are going to bash on the graphics because they're not a fan of modern Mega Man. Personally, for me, I don't care if Mega Man goes into the realm of retro or modern, as long as they do the modern take right. If you remember Mega Man 8, a lot of people hated Mega Man 8, and if I were to return to Mega Man 8 compared to Mega Man 11, I can definitely say I like the art style and the feel of Mega Man 11 much more than I like the feel of Mega Man 8. Mega Man 8 just doesn't seem right compared to Mega Man 11. This is much more a better version of Mega Man 8 if you were talking about a modern Mega Man. The problem with Mega Man 8 is the fact that Mega Man is a little bit too big on screen if you go back to Mega Man 8, and he's a little bit too heavy and too clunky when you control. This is just a perfect amount of weightiness on Mega Man. The way he looks on screen is about right in my opinion. Some say he might be a little bit too small, but in me, I think he's just about right for me. He feels right. The game plays smooth. That's another thing good about Mega Man 11 is the fact that Mega Man 11 plays good. And of course, I always get Switch games, if you didn't know this, and the Switch version of this game runs buttery smooth. I would honestly say this plays at 1080p, 60 frames per second. It could play lower than 60, but as far as I'm aware, it's very buttery smooth. So if you die in this game, it's going to be totally on you. It's not going to be the game's fault, so that's good news to know that it runs extremely well on the Nintendo Switch, just because of course a lot of games don't run well on the Nintendo Switch because of course it doesn't have as much power as like the base PS4 and the Xbox One, so it's nice to know that we're not getting cheaped out here when it comes to the Nintendo Switch version of the game. Overall, I'm having a lot of fun with this game. Is this like any other Mega Man that's going to be super hard? Yes, this game is going to be super hard. Now, the thing about Mega Man 11 is they do actually have a couple of different difficulties in the game, so you're not just going to be playing a whatever difficulty, you're not just going to be playing a set difficulty, excuse me there. They do have different difficulties, just like some other Mega Mans where you can pick your difficulty. It goes all the way from newcomer all the way up to superhero, and then they have like casual, and then they have normal inside of it, so they give you a fair amount of difficulties in the game. If you're a beginner with Mega Man and you're kind of scared off, you can play newcomer, or if you're a purist out there who's played every single Mega Man to death and you're really good at these platforming games, then you can go to superhero. But honestly, if you're to ask me, I wouldn't recommend going to the newcomer mode, because if you play the newcomer mode, this game totally becomes a joke. When I played it, I already breezed through the first 4 levels, and then when I was playing the game, I was like, this doesn't really seem right. I know Mega Man, you can't just breeze through the first 4 levels. Is this game really that easy, or is it because I'm on casual? So basically what I did is I went up from newcomer all the way up to normal. So I went from newcomer, casual, then to normal. So I skipped one in between. Newcomer and casual. I went to normal, and then when I went to normal, that's where I started having problems with Mega Man, and I can definitely say this game is definitely hard. Just don't play it on newcomer. The one reason I wouldn't play it on newcomer is because if you die, if you fall in a pit on newcomer mode, then you actually get picked up by like the bird, and this bird will set you down, and that's not really how you're supposed to play Mega Man, and it's kind of a joke, and it wouldn't make this game fun. Even if you're a person that never played a Mega Man game or doesn't play platformers, I would at least say start on casual and go from there. Don't start from newcomer, because you'll be breezing through the game in no time, and the game's not that fun. And then if you want to play on the harder mode, superhero just becomes ridiculously almost impossible to beat, because you don't get any pickups during your playthrough. So you don't get any health pickups, you don't get any lives to pick up or anything like that, so it's going to be extremely hard playing that. But overall, this game is a very hard game. There are some levels that are easy, like for me instantly, 2 of the ones that were pretty easy for me were Acid Man stage, and then Blockman stage. Now, Blockman stage was in the demo. The one thing about the Blockman stage is it's kind of misleading when you play the demo, because for me personally, after I actually sat down and played Blockman stage is a pretty easy stage, so I don't know why they made that the demo level, because somebody might be misleading about this game, thinking it's a fairly easy game when it's not really too of an easy game. But some of the levels are hard and some of the levels are not hard. Like, for instance, Impact Man stage was one stage in the game I was having a lot of difficulty with. They just throw so many projectiles at you, it just gets ridiculous. Sometimes, honestly, for me, when I play Mega Man, I like to play Mega Man where sometimes you're just better off taking the hit. You do have knockback when you take hits in Mega Man if you ever played Mega Man, but usually the knockback is not that bad on most platforms. So if you're standing on a platform, you take the hit, you'll have knockback, but it's not enough knockback to knock you back a lot of cases. So usually I do that because Mega Man does have a pretty big health bar. So that's usually how I do it. And on top of that, the good news about Mega Man 11 is if you're playing on some of the harder difficulties, they actually have a shop in the game. This is not new to Mega Man. Some of the Mega Mans had the shop. Not all of them, but some Mega Mans had a shop. But basically the shop allows you to buy stuff like health pickups, like E-Tanks, or you can buy more health in the game, or you can just buy things that'll actually save you from falling into a pit if you want to use that. There's a whole bunch of different things you can buy at the shop with the bolts, so that's nice if you're having difficulty with Mega Man. You can go into that shop, buy stuff with your bolts, and then you can progress through the game. Overall, I like pretty much everything about this game. There's nothing wrong about this game. It's just a modern take on Mega Man, and I'm purely okay with that. Some people will disagree, and some people will like it. I've heard a lot of people not liking it, and then I heard a lot of people liking it, so it's maybe 50-50, or depends on who you ask. But overall, for me personally, I do enjoy this one. This one is definitely up there for me personally for one of the best Mega Mans of all time. I'm still not going to say it's my favorite one, but I would definitely at least put it in my top 5 Mega Mans of all time right now. It definitely beats out 8 for me for a number of various reasons. I like the art style better. I like the fact that Mega Man looks better on screen. He's not as clunky on screen. He's not as heavy. Overall, this definitely wipes 8 out the question in terms of modern Mega Man, so they need to keep Mega Man in this direction. One thing a lot of people are disagreeing about or agreeing about is the fact that they have a new actual mechanic in the game that's only exclusive to Mega Man 11. The new mechanic is called the double gear system, and the double gear system is pretty much where you have the L and R buttons on the back, and you can pretty much activate it at any time as long as your bar is not full. And then basically what you can do is you can actually have another buster shot on your buster if you use one of the double gear systems, which a lot of the time I don't even use that one honestly, because I don't really think I have a use for it. I don't really see it's necessary or anything like that. So a lot of times I don't use the one where it gives you another shot on your Mega Buster. But the one I do use almost all the time is the slow down time gear system, where basically you press one of the back buttons and it slows down time for a brief period of time as long as your gear bar is not full. Once your gear bar is full, you do have a cooldown. The cooldown might be 10 or 11 seconds before you can actually activate your gear system again. And that one's pretty much, you need to use it a lot of the times. The game is made around the double gear system or around the slowdown mechanic, but luckily you can avoid that, and that's what some people don't like about this game. They feel like you kind of have to use it. In some parts you kind of feel like you have to use the slowdown time mechanic, but realistically you can still beat it without doing that. So I guess for all those people who are complaining about the double gear system, you can kind of just disregard it if you really want to. And there's actually a lot of times in this game where I'm playing the game and I'm not even thinking in the back of my head about the double gear system. I'm just playing it like a normal Mega Man game, and I forget to use the double gear system. So the double gear system, I think personally to me, is actually a kind of cool take, considering also you don't have another Mega Man game out there that actually uses the double gear system. I think it's pretty cool, and honestly I hope if Capcom does make another Mega Man outside of Mega Man 11, I hope maybe they make this exclusive to Mega Man 11, or if they're going to do the double gear system again, maybe make more mechanics revolved around the double gear system, because there's a lot of times where I feel like maybe they need to put more stuff in the game to make use of the double gear system. It's there, and there's a lot of times where you feel like you have to use it, but I don't think there's enough in my opinion. Maybe they need to do more with the double gear system, or at least the slow down time mechanic in the game. I would like to see that moving forward onto another Mega Man. The one downside to Mega Man 11, which I can say right now, which I'm not really a fan of, is the music of the game, and I'm not in the minority when I say this. I'm actually in the majority. Most people agree it's not even good music. For me personally, I don't think it's bad music, but I don't think it's great music either. I just think it's there in the game. Well, it's not going to blow you away if you're looking for good Mega Man music. I know Mega Man is one of those series out there that's known for some of the best video game music of all time. A lot of people like the soundtracks from like Mega Man 2, Mega Man 3, I know Mega Man 4. Just people love the Mega Man series when it comes to music, and usually they're phenomenal and they're mind-blowing, and you guys know Mega Man's have some of the best music of all time. But it just sucks that Capcom dropped the ball on Mega Man 11. Most people agree it's just music in the game. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just thrown in there. You're going to forget the soundtracks. There's nothing memorable. You're not going to remember any of the soundtrack, but at least it's nice they put a soundtrack in there, and of course why not? It just sucks they didn't put a little bit more time into the soundtrack of Mega Man 11. Now, what can you do outside of the game? Well, outside of beating your standard, of course, this has 8 bosses just like any other Mega Man game, and then you go to Wily's castle, and then you face Wily and all that stuff. So your typical Mega Man, they didn't really change the formula there. It's still the same formula you played for 30 years, but they did add some challenges in the game, just like the Mega Man Legacies collections, where they had some challenges in the game. And also on top of the challenges, this game does have amiibo support, but if you're solely picking up the Nintendo Switch version of this game, they have the amiibo support. I can tell you right now, the amiibo support falls flat. Basically, all the amiibos do in this game is they allow you to get like E-tanks, extra lives, and things like that in the game. You don't really get too much in the game. You don't get any exclusive content like any new challenges, or you don't get any new stages with the amiibo. You just get pickups in the game, and that's really not that great for amiibo support. The nice thing about the amiibo support, though, is the fact you can use any amiibo out there. It does not have to be the Mega Man amiibo. I think right now they made a couple Mega Man amiibos, but you can totally not use those. You can actually use whatever amiibo you have laying around, and they will work on the game. The only thing is, remember, each amiibo is going to be limited to once per day, so you can't keep spamming the amiibo if you want to keep cheating on the game and get more E-tanks, get more health, get more pickups or whatnot. You can't keep doing that. But if you had, like, let's say 50 amiibo, that's going to be a lot of amiibo. Then you can just keep scanning them and scanning them and scanning them. I don't know why you'd want to go through all the effort to keep scanning the amiibos, but you have the choice to keep scanning them and scanning them if you have a buttload of amiibos. But back to what I was saying about the challenge mode is pretty much your standard affair. It's not going to blow anybody away, and it's not something you're going to be visiting all the time. They have different challenges, like the Mega Buster challenge, where you're only using the Mega Buster. They also, of course, have the They also have a boss rush mode if you want to practice on the bosses. The reason I bring that up is because I'm actually a big fan of boss rush modes when it comes to video games. One of my favorite series that I played throughout my life is the Kirby series, and the Kirby series is known to have boss rush modes, and I'm absolutely a big fan of boss rush modes. Honestly, I wish more games out there, like platformers or just games that have bosses, would have boss rush modes in the menu, because I love playing every boss in a row. I think that's just an absolutely fantastic idea to see how good you can get against these bosses, see how fast you can beat these bosses. That's got to be my favorite mode outside of the main game. Then you got other ones where you're trying to pop the balloons in the game, and they have like these blue and these red ones. You got to avoid the blue ones. You get a time penalty if you hit the blue ones, and then you got these other balloons and things like that. Overall, outside of the game, there's not really too much to offer, but it is nice they're giving you these extra challenges you can go ahead and take on if you're interested in playing that. Like I said, overall, this game is a pretty good game, and the return of Mega Man for me has been very awesome, and I'm very glad to report to you that I'm having fun with this game. It's just too bad that some people don't like this game because of modern take on Mega Man. They don't like the gear system. They don't like the boss designs. I think the boss designs are fine in this game. I think overall, most levels in the game I'm absolutely loving. Outside of like one or two stages, like Impact Man stage, I'm not a fan of, just because I think it's a little bit way too hard for a lot of people, and I can agree. It's just too hard to play Impact Man stage. You eventually get through it, and you can eventually cheese your way through it if you had the right setup, have the right abilities and things like that. But I'm not a fan of that stage. But overall, most stages in the game I absolutely love. One thing I want to talk about is Balloon Man stage really quickly. Or not Balloon Man, Bounce Man. I don't know why I called it Balloon Man. That boss, for some reason, reminds me of balloons, or it also reminds me of Clown Man back on Mega Man 8. That's why I'm kind of confused here. But Bounce Man stage, you may have seen Bounce Man stage maybe in like a trailer, or maybe you've seen someone play it or whatnot, and you don't own Mega Man 11. And there is a mechanic in that stage where you actually have to bounce around on the balls, and you may be wondering, how's that mechanic? Honestly, I can tell you, forget what everyone says about the Bounce Man stage. Some people are going to tell you the Bounce Man stage mechanic is actually clunky, is actually gimmicky. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not actually gimmicky. It's not bad, because the last game I played, they had a weird actually jumping mechanic like Bounce Man stage. Has to be Celeste. There's a stage in there where you actually have to bounce on these clouds, and the cloud bouncing is actually really weird on that. But in Mega Man 11, Bounce Man stage, bouncing on the balls, is actually really good. All you really have to do is hold down the jump button. Once you hold down the jump button, he'll jump to the highest he can while you're holding down the button. So as long as you're bouncing, just hold down your jump button and you're good to go. Nothing weird. You don't have to time anything in that level. That's why I wanted to bring that up, because you may be aware about that, but no, it's absolutely an easy mechanic. It's not something to worry about. So forget what everyone says and don't worry about Bounce Man Stage. Bounce Man Stage is not gimmicky. It's not clunky. It's not weird. For me personally, I've had no issues with Bounce Man Stage. Just hold down your jump button and you're good to go. But like I said, overall, I'm absolutely loving this game. And this is a game that I'm probably going to end up speedrunning sometime in the near future, just because this seems like a good candidate for speedrunning. And I am a big Mega Man fan, so we'll see about that. Overall, I can't think of anything else to talk about this Mega Man game. This is just a very overall good Mega Man game. If you're a fan of Mega Man, or maybe you haven't jumped into Mega Man, this is a perfect time to jump into Mega Man. Overall, if you were to ask me what the score would be on this game, which, you know, I don't normally give scores out, I just tell you if it's a good game, a bad game, what do I think about this game. Honestly, I would give this game an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's pretty good for your money. I think it's just another Mega Man game, but I don't blame you for not picking up this game as well, because there's nothing new in this game that's going to make you want to play this Mega Man game if you're not a fan of the rest of the Mega Man series, because it's just your standard Mega Man game outside of the gear system, and the gear system doesn't change the main mechanics of Mega Man. It's still your 2D platformer with just different stages you just go through, and you just jump around, you just shoot around, you just have these different abilities, these different powers. It's just your same Mega Man game that's been there for 30 years, so nothing too chaotic about this, but 8.5 out of 10 for Mega Man 11. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.